Hello family, enjoy this relaxing moment with Charm Stories. Remember to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comment section. Also generously hit the like button cause it means the world to us. Please sit back, relax and enjoy as we dive into the story. Mia sat on the edge of her queen-sized bed in the dimly lit room, the divorce papers resting on her lap as if they weighed 1,000 pounds. Outside, the night sky was a hazy purple, and the street below was quiet, except for the occasional car whizzing past. She could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the next room and the slow ticking of the clock on the wall. Every tick reminded her that time was marching forward with or without her consent. Jordan's words echoed in her head like a broken record. "You'll never survive without me. You're nothing without me." He had handed her the papers so casually, as though signing away their marriage of 7 years was no more significant than signing a grocery receipt. She remembered the way his eyes had gleamed with confidence, or was it arrogance, as he sneered at her. Mia felt a knot forming in her stomach at the memory. There was a photo of them on the bedside table from happier times, a beach vacation 2 years ago. She picked it up, noticing for the first time the joy that radiated from her smile back then. She looked carefree, dressed in a light sundress, leaning against Jordan, who had his arm protectively around her waist. Now she wondered how much of that protection was real and how much was merely for show. Tears threatened to spill from the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them back, determined not to give in to the sorrow. She wasn't sure if her resolve stemmed from shock or from a fledgling spark of something else, something that whispered she didn't have to stay broken. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, interrupting her moment of reflection. A text from her closest friend, Lily, glowed on the screen. "Lily, hey, just checking on you. You okay?" Mia typed a short reply, her fingers trembling. "Mia, I'm surviving." She set the phone aside, letting a long breath escape her lips. She wasn't okay. How could anyone be okay when the person they had devoted their life to just confessed he had found someone younger, wealthier, and more exciting? The words stung like salt in a fresh wound. She thought back to the argument earlier that day, replaying every detail. Jordan had marched into their home, an air of self-importance swirling around him. He tossed the papers onto the coffee table. "Sign them," he'd said. "I've moved on. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." Mia had felt her cheeks flush with anger and humiliation. "So that's it, Jordan? 7 years and it all boils down to you walking out with a new fling on your arm." He shrugged, completely unbothered. "Don't act surprised. You've seen this coming. You've let yourself go. You're not the woman I married." His gaze had lingered on her body in a way that made her feel exposed and dismissed all at once. Now, as the bedroom lamp cast shadows on the divorce papers in her lap, Mia felt a mixture of fear and indignation. She ran her fingers over the crisp edges of the documents. Despite the pain gnawing at her heart, she found a surprising calm. She refused to let this define her entire future. "This isn't my end," she whispered to the silence. Her voice trembled slightly, but there was a new steel in it. "It's just the beginning." The clock struck midnight. Mia's eyes flicked to the time, and she knew she couldn't hide in this bedroom forever. She had a battle to fight, and it started with believing in herself. No matter how much Jordan tried to paint her as worthless, she still had worth. She just had to rediscover it. She placed the divorce papers in a neat stack on her nightstand, taking one final glance at the photograph from happier times. Then, with a resolute motion, she turned the frame face down. She wouldn't forget the past, but she refused to stay chained to it. A tremor of excitement mingled with heartbreak in her chest. For a split second, she imagined a future where she stood tall, stronger and more confident than ever. "Maybe tomorrow," she said, pushing the heartbreak aside for just a moment, "I'll start building that future." And with that thought, she flicked off the bedside lamp, letting the darkness envelop her. The night felt long and uncertain, but a faint spark of hope glowed in the depths of her heart. Little did she know, that spark would soon catch fire and burn brightly enough to transform her life beyond recognition. Morning light streamed through the thin curtains, creating a hazy yellow aura in the bedroom. Mia woke with swollen eyes, evidence of the tears she had refused to shed the previous night. Instead of crumpling into sobs, she had drifted into a restless sleep that offered little peace. She dragged herself out of bed, heading to the kitchen. The coffee maker sputtered and gurgled, filling the apartment with the comforting scent of fresh brew. She stood there, numb, clutching a mug like it was her lifeline. The events of the last few weeks replayed in her mind. Jordan had changed. She couldn't deny that. The changes had been slow at first, a late night here, an unexplained business trip there. He would come home smelling of perfumes that weren't hers, and he always had a convenient excuse. It was just a business dinner, Mia. Stop being paranoid. One evening, she stumbled upon his open laptop and saw emails that hinted at more than just professional relationships. Women she didn't know, writing to him with winking emojis and suggestive language. Her stomach had turned, but she still clung to the hope that it was all just flirting or a misunderstanding. She had asked him about it, voice trembling. "You're overreacting," Jordan had snapped, slamming the laptop shut. "Can't a man have female colleagues without his wife accusing him of cheating?" But deep down, Mia knew something wasn't right. She felt it in the pit of her stomach, that sixth sense that tells you your life is about to change, and not for the better. Days turned into weeks, and the late nights multiplied. Jordan rarely slept at home, preferring a luxurious penthouse near his new office, or so he claimed. The final blow came when a friend texted her a photo of Jordan on a yacht with a stunning brunette, his hands possessively around her waist. The picture was a direct, undeniable snapshot of his betrayal. Her friend's accompanying message was brief and apologetic. "I'm so sorry, Mia. I thought you should know." Mia had stared at the image for what felt like hours, her heart pounding so violently she could hear the blood rushing in her ears. The world felt surreal, like she had stepped into a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. When Jordan finally walked through the door that night, it was nearly 3 in the morning. She confronted him, voice shaking with anger and heartbreak. "Who is she, Jordan?" She'd thrust her phone in his face, showing him the damning photo. He simply shrugged, an unrepentant smile curving his lips. "Does it matter? You've let yourself go, Mia. I've moved on." His nonchalance felt like a slap in the face. That was when she realized her marriage was over. This man, who had once professed to love her more than anything, was now a stranger who cared only for his own pleasure and ego. As she poured herself coffee in the present moment, Mia's hands trembled. She remembered how she had collapsed onto the couch that night, too stunned to cry. The next morning, Jordan handed her the divorce papers, his eyes glinting with a cruel satisfaction. "Sign," he had said, as if it were an order. "Let's not drag this out." The memory brought a fresh wave of nausea. She sipped her coffee, trying to steady her nerves. In that moment, she decided she wouldn't let him reduce her to a weeping shell. She might be broken now, but she would not stay broken. A small flame of defiance lit inside her chest, flickering with a fragile but resolute heat. The phone rang, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was Lily. Mia hesitated before answering, unsure if she could handle pity or concern. But she pressed the green button anyway. "Mia." Lily's voice was soft. "Have you eaten yet? Want to grab breakfast?" Mia inhaled slowly, pressing the phone to her ear. "I'm not really hungry, Lil." "You have to eat," Lily insisted. "Come on, I'll pick you up in 30 minutes. You can't just stay cooped up there." Mia glanced around the apartment. The living room looked disheveled, a reflection of her internal chaos. Jordan's presence lingered everywhere, his coat still on the hanger, his business award in the glass cabinet. With a determined sigh, she nodded, forgetting Lily couldn't see her. "All right," she said. "I'll come." Before Lily arrived, Mia went to the bathroom and caught a glimpse of her reflection in the mirror. There were dark circles under her eyes, and her hair looked dull. She pressed her hand against the sink, leaning in closer. "This ends now," she whispered, though she wasn't entirely sure what she meant. She only knew she couldn't keep letting heartbreak define her days. The door buzzer sounded, and Mia forced herself to get ready. Despite her puffy eyes and heavy heart, she brushed her hair, put on a simple sundress, and stepped into the elevator, leaving behind the suffocating gloom of her apartment, for a while at least. Little did she know, this morning marked the turning point. The betrayal had broken her, but only by shattering could she see the fragments of her old self she needed to piece back together, forging a new, unbreakable version of Mia. Over breakfast at a small cafe on the corner of Maple and Pine, Lily studied Mia with concerned eyes. Mia forced a smile, stirring her latte in slow, repetitive circles. The smell of pancakes and fresh butter wafted through the air, but Mia's appetite was non-existent. "You don't have to pretend with me," Lily said gently, sipping her own coffee. "I know you're hurting." Mia looked down at the tabletop, her eyes tracing the chipped laminate. "I feel like my whole life just imploded." She paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. "He told me I'm nothing without him, Lily. And for a while, I believed it." Lily reached across the table and squeezed Mia's hand. "Jordan always had a way of making everything about himself. He was charming, sure, but that charm wore thin. It's not your fault. Don't let him poison your mind." Mia's eyes flickered with pain. "It's just that I gave up so much for him. I left my job, I put my own goals on hold to support his business dreams. And now, I have no idea who I am anymore." A moment of silence passed between them. Mia recalled how she used to have aspirations of opening her own art studio, a place where she could teach painting classes and exhibit her work. But after marrying Jordan, finances and priorities shifted. She never returned to that dream, shelving it for later. In the chaos of building Jordan's dream business, later turned into never. "You still have that spark," Lily said softly, watching Mia's somber expression. "I know it's there. It's just buried under all this hurt. You can find it again, I promise." Mia nodded, though she wasn't entirely convinced. The clinking of cutlery against plates filled the cafe, and a couple sitting behind them burst into laughter. Mia envied their carefree happiness. She wanted to feel that again, but right now, it seemed impossible. Still, as Lily talked about potential steps forward, looking for a job, leaning on her friends for support, Mia felt the faint stirrings of hope. Something about hearing solutions made her realize that, yes, there might be a future beyond her heartbreak. After breakfast, Lily offered to drop Mia off at the local gym. "Just try it," she urged. "Take a yoga class or do some cardio. You need endorphins, and you need to get out of your own head." Initially, Mia was reluctant. She didn't want to face people, especially strangers who might see through her brokenness. But Lily was persistent, and Mia found herself standing in front of the gym's glass doors, reading the bold lettering, "New Horizon Fitness Center." She took a tentative step inside, bombarded by the smell of rubber mats and disinfectant. A perky receptionist greeted her, offering a quick tour. Mia nodded, hardly listening, her mind drifting as she walked past rows of treadmills, stationary bikes, and weight machines. Eventually, she found a quiet corner near the free weights, where she could hide from prying eyes. To her surprise, she saw a small group of women lifting weights under the guidance of a female trainer. These women didn't look like fitness models. They looked normal, sweaty, determined. Some were overweight, some were slim, some looked like they'd been doing this for years, and others appeared just as unsure as Mia felt. Yet there was a camaraderie in their shared effort. The trainer, a woman in her mid-30s with a firm voice but kind eyes, noticed Mia observing from the sidelines. She beckoned her over. "First time?" the trainer asked gently. Mia nodded, feeling awkward. "Just looking," she mumbled. "No problem," the trainer said, smiling. "We all start somewhere. Want to try some basic moves? I'll guide you. Nothing too intense." Mia hesitated, then agreed. She found herself practicing a simple dumbbell routine, focusing on posture. Her arms burned in a matter of minutes, but for some reason, the physical sensation felt good. It was a distraction from the emotional pain. A bead of sweat trickled down her forehead, and she realized that for the first time since she had learned of Jordan's infidelity, she wasn't wallowing in sorrow or self-pity. She was focused on her own body, her own strength. Even though she didn't feel strong, each rep felt like a tiny step toward reclaiming control. By the time she finished, her heart was pounding, and her muscles were shaking. Yet, an unfamiliar sense of pride flickered within her. The trainer patted Mia on the shoulder and said, "Good work. Hope to see you back here. Mia managed a small smile as she grabbed her things, thanked the trainer, and left. Outside, the sun was bright, and for the first time in weeks, she found herself breathing a little easier. On her walk home, she thought about Jordan's cutting words, "You're nothing without me." The phrase replayed in her mind like a challenge. A seed of defiance took root in her chest. "I'll prove him wrong," she whispered to the bustling street. "I'm something without him. I just need to remember who I am." And that moment, the slightest shift happened in Mia's heart. It wasn't a grand epiphany or a dramatic revelation. Instead, it was more like a small awakening, a gentle nudge reminding her that her story wasn't over. A sliver of motivation sparked within her, waiting to grow. The next day, Mia woke earlier than usual. A restless energy propelled her out of bed before dawn. It felt foreign yet invigorating. She found herself rummaging through her wardrobe, searching for suitable workout clothes, something she hadn't done in ages. She pulled on an old pair of leggings and a faded t-shirt, then headed to the gym with her hair thrown into a messy bun. The crisp morning air nipped at her cheeks, but she pressed on, fueled by a resolve she barely understood herself. At the gym, the friendly trainer from the day before greeted her with a nod. "Back for more?" she asked, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. Mia offered a shy grin. "I guess I am." She started with the treadmill, setting a brisk walking pace. Every minute or two, she tried jogging. After 10 minutes, her legs screamed at her, but she forced herself to keep moving. Memories of Jordan's dismissal flared in her mind, spurring her on. "He said I couldn't do it. He said I was too weak." With each step, she pushed back against the lie that she was nothing. After her cardio, she migrated to the weight machines. She followed the trainer's advice from the previous day, methodically working through leg presses and light shoulder exercises. Though her body ached, a satisfying burn replaced the usual heaviness in her chest. Instead of drowning in sadness, she was sweating out her frustrations. A few days later, she tried a spin class, pedaling so hard she nearly collapsed when the session ended. But the endorphins were exhilarating, and she found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in weeks. The instructor's high-energy voice, the pounding music, and the camaraderie of a roomful of people determined to better themselves created a rush she hadn't felt in years. Her transformation didn't stop at the gym. With Lily's encouragement, she set up a meeting with a local business counselor, a free service offered by the city to encourage small enterprises. There, she timidly pitched her idea, a small art studio that offered beginner painting workshops and showcased local artists. "It's just an idea," Mia said to the counselor, a middle-aged woman named Harriet with warm eyes. "I'm not sure if it can really work." Harriet leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "There's a growing demand for community art spaces, especially those that offer hands-on classes. Have you considered partnering with local schools or community centers?" Mia's eyes widened. "No, I haven't. I'm new to this." Harriet offered a reassuring nod. "That's okay. We all start somewhere. Let's explore the possibilities." Over the next few weeks, Mia threw herself into research. She studied business plans, investment options, and marketing strategies. She visited art supply stores to gauge wholesale prices and connected with local artists through social media groups. Every day, she learned something new, her self-doubt gradually eroding with each small success. Meanwhile, her physical transformation continued. The gym staff started recognizing her determination. She was no longer the timid newcomer hiding in the corner. She took part in group classes, tried new machines, and even found a workout buddy, an older woman named Carol who had joined the gym to manage her high blood pressure. "You're an inspiration," Carol told her one afternoon, wiping sweat from her brow. "I see how hard you work. If someone your age can push through, so can I." Mia blushed, amazed that anyone would find her inspiring. "I'm just trying to keep it together," she admitted. Carol gave her a knowing smile. "Aren't we all?" Days turned into weeks, and Mia started noticing changes, not just in her physique, but in her mindset. She felt more confident, stood a little taller, and looked people in the eye instead of staring at the floor. She was nowhere near her final goal, but she could sense that she was becoming stronger, physically, mentally, and emotionally. She also began revamping her look. Motivated by her progress, she got a new haircut, opting for a layered style that framed her face. She sorted through her closet, donating clothes that reminded her of her old self, oversized sweaters and shapeless dresses she had worn during her most insecure days. One day, she stumbled across an elegant black dress she had forgotten she owned. She tried it on and was stunned at her reflection in the mirror. The dress fit snugly, highlighting the subtle changes in her body since she started working out. She felt beautiful. An overwhelming sense of pride surged through her. Looking at herself, she whispered, "I'm not nothing. I can do this." Little did she know, her transformation was just beginning. Each step she took toward reclaiming her life fueled a growing flame inside her. She had found a purpose, building something of her own, and each achievement, however small, fanned the fire of self-belief. Summer arrived in full force, bringing long, sunny days and the buzz of social gatherings. Mia's circle of friends, and even acquaintances, started noticing something different about her. Gone was the hunched posture, the timid eyes, the downcast expression. She carried herself differently now, with a subtle yet undeniable aura of confidence. Over brunch one Saturday, 3 of Mia's old friends from college, Rebecca, Charlene, and Naomi, exchanged puzzled yet admiring glances as Mia entered the trendy bistro in downtown. She wore a sleek red blouse tucked into fitted jeans, topped with a stylish blazer that accentuated her figure. Her hair was glossy, and her makeup was understated but flawless. Charlene nearly dropped her mimosa. "Mia, you look incredible." Naomi leaned forward, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Okay, spill. What's your secret? A new skincare routine? A crazy diet? You look," she paused, searching for the right word, "radiant." Mia felt warmth creep up her cheeks. "I've been working out and focusing on myself," she said softly, stirring her iced coffee. "And I'm also starting a business." Rebecca's eyebrows shot up. "A business?" Mia nodded, feeling a surge of excitement as she explained her art studio concept, her plans for workshops, tie-ins with local community events, and maybe even a gallery night featuring local talent. She spoke quickly, her words charged with passion. By the time she finished, Charlene was nodding enthusiastically. "That's amazing, Mia. I'm so proud of you." She paused, a note of concern creeping into her voice. "How's Jordan taking all of this?" At the mention of Jordan, a hush fell over the group. Mia's face hardened for a split second, but she forced a neutral tone. "He's out of the picture. We're finalizing the divorce." Her friends exchanged uneasy looks, but Naomi reached across the table and squeezed Mia's hand. "We're here for you, no matter what." Despite the supportive words, Mia couldn't ignore the whispers that she knew floated around town. In the weeks following Jordan's public appearances with his new girlfriend, rumors spread like wildfire. Some people claimed Mia was devastated beyond repair, while others insisted she was doing better than ever. The latter rumors piqued everyone's curiosity. One evening, Mia visited a trendy rooftop bar with Lily. As they made their way to the outdoor seating area, a couple of Jordan's old business associates recognized Mia. She overheard snippets of their conversation behind her. "Is that Jordan's ex? She looks so different. Stunning, actually. I heard she's launching her own company or something." Mia fought the urge to grin. She couldn't deny that it felt good to be noticed in a positive light. She recalled how Jordan had belittled her aspirations, how he had laughed when she mentioned wanting to open an art studio. "People want classes from a nobody," he had scoffed once, shaking his head. "Stick to what you know, supporting me." Shaking off the bitter memory, Mia found a small table with Lily. They ordered sparkling water and a platter of appetizers. Over the gentle hum of city lights and distant music, Lily leaned in. "You're glowing," Lily observed, repeating the compliment Mia had heard multiple times lately. Mia toyed with the edge of her napkin, a wistful smile on her face. "I still have bad days," she admitted, her gaze drifting to the skyline. "But for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm living for myself, not for someone else's expectations." Lily raised her glass. "Here's to that." She paused, contemplating her words before adding, "Some of Jordan's friends have been talking. They can't believe how fast you've bounced back. It's like they expected you to be crying on the kitchen floor, devastated." Mia recalled Jordan's sneer, "You'll never survive without me." She felt a surge of satisfaction that made her heart pound. "Let them talk," she said, clinking her glass against Lily's. "I'm not doing this for them, or for Jordan. I'm doing it for me." They sipped their drinks, the music drifting around them. The air was warm, and the atmosphere was alive with city dwellers unwinding after a long week. And Mia allowed herself to bask in the moment, savoring the fact that she was standing tall, even after heartbreak. The whispers followed her wherever she went now, but instead of pity, they were tinged with admiration and awe. That night, back in her apartment, Mia stood before her mirror again. She saw the faintest outlines of new muscle definition in her arms. Her posture looked straighter. Her eyes held a spark that had been absent for years. In the quiet of her bedroom, she whispered a promise. "I won't just survive. I'll thrive." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Mia secured a small loan to rent a modest space in a bustling arts district. Though it wasn't in the heart of downtown, it was close enough to draw foot traffic. The building had charming exposed brick walls and high ceilings, perfect for a creative studio vibe. She named it Canvas and Company. Setting up was both exciting and terrifying. Each day brought new challenges, finding the right paint supplies, negotiating with contractors for minor renovations, and learning how to manage a budget. Mia spent countless hours hunched over spreadsheets, double-checking every expense. She was determined not to let her first real venture fail due to lack of preparation. "You're working too hard," Lily scolded one evening when she dropped by the studio. The place was a mess of paint cans, partially assembled easels, and unopened boxes of brushes. "You need to take a break." Mia laughed, exhaustion evident in her voice. "I can't. My grand opening is in 2 weeks, and I still have to sort out the marketing, finalize the workshop schedule, and finish painting these walls." Lily rolled up her sleeves. "All right, hand me a paint roller. Let's get this done together." Mia felt a rush of gratitude toward her friend. They worked in comfortable silence, the swish of paint rollers against the brick a rhythmic soundtrack. When they finally stopped, the studio walls were a soothing, earthy tone, perfect for an art space. By the time the grand opening loomed, Mia had successfully marketed her new business through local social media groups and community bulletins. On the morning of the opening, she arrived at dawn, triple-checking the arrangements, easels neatly lined up, canvases ready for the first workshop, light refreshments laid out. Her heart fluttered with nerves and excitement. As the clock struck 10, people began trickling in, neighbors, curious passers-by, and a few local artists. Lily, always Mia's staunch supporter, arrived with a bouquet of flowers. Carol from the gym showed up, eager to test her newfound artistic side. Even Harriet, the business counselor, dropped by to wish Mia luck. To her surprise, the turnout was better than she'd dared to hope. By noon, Canvas and Company was abuzz with creativity. The sound of laughter, the buzz of conversation, and the soft swish of paintbrushes on canvas filled the space with life. Mia circulated, offering pointers to the novices and chatting with the more experienced artists about future collaboration opportunities. Standing in the midst of the bustling workshop, Mia felt a wave of profound satisfaction. "I did this," she thought. "Not Jordan. Not anyone else." She had built something from her own passion and determination. Later that evening, after closing up, Mia checked her phone. She noticed several missed calls from an unknown number, followed by texts that shocked her. Unknown: "Mia, it's Jordan. We need to talk." A pang of dread coursed through her. She hadn't spoken to Jordan in weeks, aside from the necessary divorce proceedings. Why would he call now? She debated whether to ignore him, but curiosity nagged at her. Finally, she replied, "Mia, if this is about the divorce, talk to my lawyer." Almost immediately, her phone rang again. She pressed the decline button, her heart racing. But the ringing was relentless, each buzz setting her nerves on edge. "Fine," she muttered under her breath, stepping outside the studio into the quiet evening air. "Hello." she answered curtly. Jordan's voice crackled through the line, the same familiar tenor that once made her heart flutter. Mia, listen, this isn't about the divorce. Well, not directly. I've been hearing things. She scoffed, pacing back and forth in front of the studio's display window. Hearing things? Like what? He hesitated. That you've been changing. You opened some kind of art business. Mia suppressed a smile at his evident confusion. Yes, Jordan, I did. He cleared his throat. Look, I've been thinking. Maybe we rushed this divorce. You were a good wife, supportive, caring. Maybe we can talk. Her mind reeled. Was he trying to backtrack? She swallowed, recalling how he had all but flaunted his new girlfriend, acting as if Mia was disposable. Rage flickered in her chest, but she reined it in. Talk about what? She said icily. Us. I mean, do we really have to go through with this? I've been under a lot of stress. Maybe I made a mistake. Mia felt like the wind had been knocked out of her. A few months ago, she would have leaped at the opportunity to reconcile. But now, everything was different. Her life was on a new trajectory, and she wasn't sure if there was any room for Jordan. I don't have time for this right now, she snapped, surprisingly cold. We'll finalize what we started, Jordan. Goodbye. She hung up, her fingers trembling. The conversation had rattled her, dredging up old emotions. But she also felt an unexpected sense of power. Jordan's attempt to come crawling back was a testament to how far she'd come. The next morning, she threw herself back into work at Canvas and Company. One of the local newspapers ran a small article titled, "Local Entrepreneur Transforms Heartbreak into a Successful Art Studio," featuring Mia's story. She read it twice, heart swelling with pride. Jordan's voice in her head telling her she was nothing faded like an echo from a bygone era. That day, she sold her first painting, a small landscape she had painted months ago, representing a lonely road leading toward a vibrant sunrise. The buyer, an older gentleman, told her it spoke to him. It's like hope on a canvas, he said quietly. Mia smiled, blinking back tears. She realized that, in a way, her entire journey was encapsulated in that painting, a path from darkness to dawn. And she had never felt more alive. Weeks flew by in a blur of paint-splattered aprons and scheduling workshops. Mia's routine now included waking up early to hit the gym before heading to her studio. She was busier than ever, yet she felt a sense of fulfillment coursing through her veins, a vitality she hadn't known in years. In the midst of her newfound success, the date for the divorce hearing arrived, looming like a dark cloud on the horizon. Her lawyer, a sharp and empathetic woman named Meredith, sent her a reminder email. Subject: Final divorce hearing. Body: Mia, our court date is set for the 15th. We'll handle the division of assets and finalize everything. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Mia felt her stomach knot as she read the email. Despite all her progress, the thought of standing in a courtroom across from Jordan made her uneasy. Memories of their shared past tugged at her. She recalled their wedding day, her in a delicate white gown, him looking suave in a tailored suit. Back then, she genuinely believed their love was unbreakable. But the thought of that yacht photo flashed in her mind, the very image that shattered her illusions. She inhaled sharply, reminding herself that she was not the same woman who had wept over Jordan's betrayal. She was stronger now, with her own thriving business, her health back on track, and a future she was building on her own terms. A day before the hearing, Lily stopped by Mia's studio, finding her absorbed in painting a large canvas of abstract swirls, deep blues merging with fiery oranges. "Hey, Picasso," Lily joked, leaning against the doorway. "Tomorrow's the big day. How are you feeling?" Mia put down her brush, flecks of paint dotting her fingers. "Nervous," she admitted, "but also ready. I just want it done." Lily nodded, coming closer to examine Mia's painting. "That's understandable. But if you ask me, Jordan's going to regret this for the rest of his life." She grinned, nudging Mia's shoulder. "Look at you, you're practically glowing. Did you know some of the women at the gym refer to you as the transformation queen?" Mia laughed, warmth spreading through her chest. "I had no idea," she said, though the compliment filled her with quiet pride. That night, she prepared for the court date in a way she never would have expected. Instead of dreading it, she saw it as a moment of closure. She planned what she would wear, a tailored black dress that exuded professionalism and confidence, paired with elegant heels. She even booked a morning appointment at a salon to have her hair styled. This wasn't an act of vanity. It was a statement, a way to show Jordan, and perhaps even herself, that she was no longer the meek, heartbroken wife he abandoned. She was a woman in control of her destiny. Inside her bedroom, she laid out the outfit and shoes, double-checking everything. The old Mia might have agonized over whether it was too bold to dress so sharply, worried about what people would think. The new Mia, however, knew that she needed to walk into that courtroom projecting strength. "I'm not dressing for Jordan," she whispered to her reflection in the mirror. "I'm dressing for me." Sleep came in uneasy fits. But when her alarm blared at 6 in the morning, she rose with determination coursing through her. After a brisk shower, she took her time with her makeup, just enough to highlight her features, nothing over the top. Then she slipped on the black dress, smoothing out any wrinkles, and stepped into her heels. When she finally looked at herself in the mirror, she barely recognized the woman staring back. This was not the insecure, teary-eyed Mia who used to beg for Jordan's attention. This was a woman who had found her worth in the ashes of heartbreak. She thought about Jordan's probable reaction. "He expects me to be a mess," she mused. The thought brought a small smile to her lips. If he was counting on seeing her beg for reconciliation or cry for mercy, he was in for a rude awakening. The courthouse stood tall and imposing in the early morning light, its stone pillars reflecting a sense of gravitas. Mia arrived a few minutes before the scheduled time. She had opted to ride in a sleek black SUV, a courtesy of one of her new acquaintances, Sylvia, a local entrepreneur who had become a staunch supporter of Mia's art studio. "You've got to make an impression," Sylvia had insisted when offering the ride. "You only get one chance to show him you've moved on, completely." Mia stepped out of the SUV, her heels clicking against the pavement. A small crowd of onlookers, mostly other people with legal proceedings that day, paused to watch her. She radiated confidence in her perfectly tailored dress, her posture poised, and her chin lifted high. She took a moment to steady her heartbeat. "This is it." She exhaled slowly, drawing on the inner resolve she had cultivated in the last few months. Stepping through the courthouse doors felt like crossing an invisible threshold from her old life into the new. As she reached the corridor leading to the courtroom, she spotted Jordan. He was leaning against a wall, glancing at his phone, looking annoyingly relaxed. He wore an expensive suit, his hair slicked back in a style that screamed wealth and arrogance. By his side stood his new girlfriend, tall, impeccably dressed, and eyeing Mia with a mixture of curiosity and unease. When Jordan finally glanced up, he did a double-take. For a fleeting moment, Mia spotted something akin to shock in his eyes. He coughed and composed himself, but not before she caught the subtle flicker of regret. He opened his mouth to speak, but she walked right past him, barely acknowledging his presence. Inside the courtroom, Mia found a seat next to Meredith, who nodded approvingly. "You look like you mean business," she whispered. Mia merely smiled, scanning the room. Court clerks shuffled papers, lawyers conferred with clients, and the judge's bench remained empty for the moment. Jordan and his girlfriend sauntered in, taking seats on the other side. Mia caught the girlfriend's stare. Mia met her gaze with calm confidence, sending a silent message, "I'm not threatened by you anymore." After a few minutes, the bailiff announced the judge's arrival. Everyone stood as the judge, a stern-faced woman with sharp eyes, took her place. The proceedings began, and Mia felt her nerves spike, but she took a deep breath and reminded herself of how far she'd come. Jordan's attorney spoke first, outlining the assets and reminding the court of the prenuptial agreement. Mia's agreement had been signed when she was naive and infatuated, giving Jordan's business full protection. Part of her worried about walking away with almost nothing. But thanks to her own careful planning and Meredith's competence, she wasn't truly leaving empty-handed. She had Canvas and Company, a place of her own creation. Throughout the hearing, Jordan kept sneaking glances at Mia. She pretended not to notice, fixing her gaze on the judge or on Meredith's notes. The judge asked a series of standard questions, verifying that both parties consented to the divorce. When asked if they had any disputes over property or support, Mia spoke in a clear, unwavering voice. "I have no interest in his wealth. I only want what's fair and what allows me to move forward." Her words resonated in the hushed courtroom. Jordan's girlfriend fidgeted, crossing and uncrossing her legs, while Jordan stared at Mia with a perplexed expression. At one point, the judge asked, "Are both parties satisfied with the current arrangement? Do you wish to contest or revise anything before I finalize the decree?" Jordan hesitated, his hand tensing on the edge of the table. His lawyer glanced at him, eyebrows raised, but Jordan cleared his throat and finally responded, "No, Your Honor. I'm fine with it." Mia almost allowed a faint smile to escape at the irony. He's not fine at all, she thought, recalling the desperate phone call he'd made only days earlier. But he had no choice. Her transformation had left him unsure and off balance. Finally, the judge nodded. "Very well. I will sign off on these papers, and this divorce will be finalized. The two of you are free to part ways." A surreal hush settled in the courtroom. Mia exhaled, a wave of relief washing over her. It's done. The marriage that once meant everything to her was now nothing more than a closed chapter. As she stood to leave, Jordan shuffled toward her, ignoring the glare of his girlfriend. "Mia," he called softly, as if testing the waters. She paused, turning her head slightly. "Yes." He swallowed, looking unsure for the first time in all the years she had known him. "Are you really okay?" Mia caught his gaze, her eyes steady. "I'm better than okay." And with that, she walked away, head held high, leaving him rooted to the spot. In the seconds after Mia's departure, the silence in the courtroom felt palpable. Jordan stood there, his expression a mixture of shock and something that looked almost like regret. His new girlfriend hovered uncertainly, casting wary glances at him. Meanwhile, Mia strode toward the exit, her heels clicking confidently on the polished floor. She resisted the urge to glance over her shoulder. Instead, she stayed focused on the door, a symbolic gateway away from her past. Meredith hurried to catch up, her briefcase in hand. "I have to say, Mia," she said, keeping her voice low, "I've seen a lot of divorce proceedings, but rarely have I seen someone handle themselves with as much poise as you just did." Mia allowed a genuine smile to form on her lips. "Thank you. She searched for the right words, eventually settling on, "I needed to show him, and myself, that I'm not the woman he left behind." They stepped into the hallway, where a few other lawyers and clients loitered. Some had witnessed the brief drama. Mia heard whispers. "Did you see her walk out? She looks like she's on top of the world. That's Jordan Maxwell's ex-wife, right? I heard she started a successful art business. She's definitely not the broken woman he painted her to be." Each snippet of conversation bolstered Mia's confidence. She had come a long way from the tearful nights and the desperate attempts to save a marriage that was doomed long before she acknowledged it. Outside the courthouse, the sun shone brightly, as if celebrating her new lease on life. Sylvia stood by the black SUV, phone in hand, ready to drive Mia back. The sight of that sleek vehicle drew a few more curious stares, and Mia couldn't help feeling a sense of quiet triumph. "How'd it go?" Sylvia asked, opening the car door. Mia shrugged, a faint smile on her lips. "It went exactly the way it needed to." Before she could slide into the back seat, she heard a commotion behind her. Jordan had hurried out, pushing past a few onlookers. His girlfriend lagged behind, scowling. "Mia!" he called, a hint of desperation lacing his tone. Mia paused, one foot in the SUV. She turned around slowly, maintaining her composure. "Yes, Jordan." He looked as if he was grappling with words, struggling to keep the polished facade he wore like armor. "Look, I don't know what to say." She met his gaze, unwavering. "You don't have to say anything." His girlfriend was now by his side, her arms folded. She shot Mia a glare, but Mia refused to let it rattle her. The power dynamic had shifted, and they all knew it. For a moment, It seemed like Jordan might apologize or beg for another chance. The tension hung in the air. But then, he glanced at his girlfriend's displeased expression and seemed to remember the choice he'd made. His shoulders sank. "I guess this is goodbye," he said, voice barely audible. Mia nodded. "It is. Take care, Jordan." She slipped into the SUV, and Sylvia closed the door behind her. As they pulled away from the courthouse, Mia cast one final glance through the tinted window. Jordan stood at the curb, looking strangely small against the imposing building. His girlfriend clutched his arm, but his posture betrayed a man who knew he had lost something irreplaceable. And maybe he had. Mia leaned back in her seat, exhaling all the residual tension. She felt a lightness she couldn't remember experiencing in years. "You did good, Mia," Sylvia said, offering her a proud grin in the rearview mirror. "Now, let's celebrate your freedom." The days following the court hearing were unexpectedly peaceful. With the divorce officially finalized, Mia poured all her energy into Canvas and Company and continued her daily fitness routine. She found solace in the new normal she had created, but she couldn't deny the lingering ghost of what once was. One afternoon, as she finished up a workshop on watercolor techniques, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and felt her heart lurch. Jordan. Normally, she would have let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of her. Excusing herself, she stepped into a quiet corner of the studio and answered. "Hello." Jordan's voice came through, strained and a little hoarse. "Mia. Hey. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from." She closed her eyes, bracing herself. "What do you want?" There was a pause. "I've been thinking about everything that happened. About us. Can we meet? Just to talk. Please." Mia frowned, her grip tightening on the phone. Part of her wanted to slam the door on any interaction with him. But another part, perhaps the remnants of their shared past, felt she at least owed him a chance to speak. "Fine," she said finally, her voice clipped. "I'll give you 10 minutes. Tomorrow, at the cafe near the old bookstore, 4 o'clock. Don't be late." She hung up before he could say more. A wave of anxiety washed over her, but she took a calming breath and returned to the workshop. For the rest of the day, she battled a flurry of doubts. Why does he want to meet? Am I being foolish to even give him the time of day? The next afternoon, Mia arrived at the cafe a few minutes early. She chose a small table outside, shaded by a red and white striped umbrella. The scent of fresh coffee and baked pastries wafted in the air, blending with the hum of passing traffic. Jordan arrived precisely at 4, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. His hair was slightly tousled, the collar of his shirt wrinkled. Mia raised an eyebrow, remembering a time when he wouldn't be caught dead in public without a perfectly pressed outfit. He took the seat opposite her, shifting nervously. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the silence heavy with unspoken words. Mia broke the tension first. "Well?" she asked, folding her hands in her lap. He sighed, looking down at the table. "I messed up," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I messed up so badly with you." A pang of sympathy tugged at her heart, but she kept her expression neutral. "You chose to end it. Not me." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I know. I was an idiot. I got caught up in the success, the money, he paused, voice quivering, the attention from other women. But now I realize none of it means anything without someone like you by my side." Mia exhaled slowly. She saw the vulnerability in his eyes, a stark contrast to the arrogant man who had declared she was nothing without him. "It's too late, Jordan. The divorce is final. We're done." He looked like he was struggling to keep his composure. "I know we signed papers, but does that really mean we can't try again? We had something good once. We loved each other. I guess I was too blinded to see how much you did for me." Mia stared at him, memories rushing back, both good and bad. Their early days of laughter, cooking meals together in a cramped apartment, dreaming of a bright future. Then the betrayal, the humiliations, the heartbreak. "You're right," she said quietly. We did love each other. But you're forgetting the part where you belittled me, cheated on me, and tried to make me feel like I was worthless." A tear escaped Jordan's eye, and he quickly wiped it away. I regret it all. I'm sorry." She studied him, searching for any sign of manipulation. But all she saw was regret. Still, regret wasn't enough to erase the damage. "Jordan," she said gently, "I've moved on. My life is better without you. You taught me a painful lesson about not losing myself in someone else's shadow. For that, I guess I should be grateful." He flinched, as though her words physically hurt him. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Mia. Therapy, counseling, anything to earn back your trust." She shook her head, her voice firm. "We can't go back. I won't let you destroy the progress I've made. I choose me now." Silence fell between them, broken only by the clatter of dishes from inside the cafe. Mia stood up, smoothing her skirt. "That's all I'm willing to say. I hope you find peace, Jordan, but not with me." She turned and walked away, her steps confident and sure. Even though she felt a twinge of sadness, she also felt something else: liberation. She realized that by refusing Jordan's plea, she was finally closing a chapter that had once defined her. Later that evening, Mia sat in her living room, sipping a glass of wine while reviewing her plans for upcoming art workshops. She paused to reflect on the surreal conversation with Jordan. Part of her expected to feel remorse or second-guess her decision, but she felt strangely calm. Her phone pinged. A text from Meredith. "Congratulations again on finalizing everything. The paperwork is now officially processed by the court. Signed, sealed, delivered. You're free, Mia." Free. The word resonated in her mind like a melodic bell. For so long, she had been shackled, first by Jordan's expectations, then by the heartbreak of his betrayal. Now, all legal and emotional ties were severed. She wandered over to the window and gazed at the city lights twinkling in the distance. It was a warm evening, and the sky was painted with the remnants of a fading sunset. Mia smiled to herself, thinking about how this new life felt, like an uncharted canvas, waiting for her brushstrokes. "I'm free," she repeated, this time aloud. Her heart felt light, a stark contrast to the heaviness she had carried for so long. Suddenly, her doorbell rang. She set down her wineglass, puzzled. It was late, and she wasn't expecting anyone. Cautiously, she peeked through the peephole. To her surprise, it was Lily, holding a small gift bag. When Mia opened the door, Lily grinned. "I heard from Meredith," she said, waving the gift bag. "Figured we should celebrate this monumental occasion." Mia laughed and ushered her friend inside. They settled on the couch, and Lily pulled out a small box wrapped in lilac paper. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny charm shaped like a phoenix. "A phoenix?" Mia asked, her voice filled with curiosity and emotion. Lily nodded. "You've risen from the ashes, my friend. You deserve to wear this as a reminder of how far you've come." Tears pricked at Mia's eyes, but they were tears of gratitude and joy. "Thank you," she whispered, fastening the bracelet around her wrist. For the rest of the evening, they chatted about everything: Canvas and Company, Lily's own work drama, and the possibility of taking a trip together. Jordan's name never came up again. He was already fading into the background of Mia's life, overshadowed by the bright future she was forging. When Lily finally left, Mia returned to her window, touching the phoenix charm. The city lights glimmered, and she felt an almost spiritual connection to the transformation she had undergone. The final signature on those divorce papers wasn't just a legal formality. It was the culmination of every tear, every heartbreak, every moment of self-discovery that led her here. She breathed in, feeling the crisp night air. Closing her eyes, she quietly vowed, "Never again will I let anyone dim my shine." Although Mia's divorce was finalized, her life continued to evolve rapidly. Canvas and Company attracted more attention, and she was soon partnering with local businesses to host corporate painting events. Her once modest studio was quickly becoming a go-to space for creativity and community gatherings. One afternoon, a local journalist came by, wanting to profile her in a piece about women entrepreneurs who had overcome personal adversity. Mia hesitated initially. She wasn't sure she wanted her heartbreak turned into a public spectacle, but she finally agreed, hoping her story might inspire others. "So, Mia," the journalist began, adjusting her recording device. "You started this business after a major life change. Can you tell me more about that?" Mia took a measured breath. "I went through a divorce," she said plainly. "It was tough, but it also became the catalyst I needed to rediscover my passions." Over the course of the interview, Mia opened up about how painting had once been her sanctuary and how she had neglected it to support someone else's dreams. "I don't regret helping my ex," she clarified. "But I regret not also helping myself." When the article was published, the response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from women who felt trapped in situations where they'd lost themselves. Mia answered as many as she could, offering words of encouragement. Walking away from Jordan had not only opened a door to her personal freedom, it had given her a platform to empower others. She realized her story was no longer just about heartbreak, it was about resilience and self-discovery. Jordan tried reaching out a few more times, sending texts that ranged from apologetic to nostalgic. Each one went unanswered. Mia had blocked him on most social media platforms, yet occasionally, she caught wind of his life through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, his business was still thriving, but rumors circulated that he seemed disconnected and distracted. His new relationship, once flaunted, now seemed strained. Some even whispered that he'd been spotted alone at bars, looking lost. One evening, Mia opened her phone and saw a request from Jordan on a professional networking site. Her thumb hovered over the reject button. Curiosity drove her to click on his profile. She was met with a barrage of posts touting his business accomplishments, carefully curated photos of corporate events, and testimonials from satisfied clients. However, one post stood out. It was older, posted shortly after the divorce was finalized. It read, "Success means nothing if you lose the person who believed in you the most." The words struck a chord in Mia, albeit briefly. She understood regret, but she also believed in accountability. He had lost the person who believed in him because he had shown himself unworthy of that belief. She hovered over the block button once more, and clicked it. She refused to let his regrets anchor her to the past. Mia closed the app, took a deep breath, and set her phone aside. With Jordan firmly out of her digital and emotional space, she could continue moving forward, unfettered. Despite her successes, Mia remained cautious about love. She had thrown herself into her business and personal growth, reluctant to open her heart again. However, fate had other plans. One Saturday, a kind-faced man named Daniel attended her painting workshop. He was a software developer looking to tap into his creative side. Throughout the session, he struggled with color mixing, eventually splattering paint on his jeans. Mia hurried over to help him salvage his canvas. They laughed about the mishap, and Mia found herself drawn to his gentle demeanor. Over the following weeks, Daniel returned for more workshops. They bonded over art, music, and their mutual interest in travel. He never pried into her past, respecting her boundaries. "I can't paint to save my life," he once joked, "but I love seeing what you do here. It's inspiring." Their friendship blossomed, evolving into late-night chats and coffee dates. Daniel admired Mia not for her physical transformation or her business acumen alone, but for her warmth, resilience, and creativity. When he finally asked her out on a real date, Mia hesitated, heart pounding. But she remembered the promise she'd made to herself, to never let fear dictate her life again. With a cautious yet hopeful smile, she said yes. Their relationship grew organically, free from the turbulence that had marked her marriage. Daniel celebrated her successes without jealousy. He listened when she talked about her dreams and supported her unconditionally. For the first time in a long while, Mia felt truly seen. Months later, Mia found herself sitting on a plush talk show couch under bright studio lights. A popular TV host had invited her to share her entrepreneurial journey. She wore a stylish, cobalt blue dress, exuding the same quiet confidence that had become her hallmark. The host, a charismatic woman named Veronica, flashed a dazzling smile. "We have with us today the owner of Canvas & Company, Mia Dawson. She's known for turning heartbreak into a flourishing business empire. Mia, thank you for being here. Mia smiled graciously. Thank you for having me, Veronica. It's an honor. The interview flowed, touching on her background, the challenges of starting a business from scratch, and how she managed to stay motivated. Finally, Veronica leaned in, her voice dropping to a sympathetic tone. Mia, you went through a very public divorce from a successful businessman. If you could say one thing to your ex-husband right now, what would it be? The studio audience went silent. The question hung in the air. Mia recalled the tears, the nights of self-doubt, and the grueling climb to reclaim her identity. She thought about Jordan's sneer, his arrogant dismissal, and his later regret. She glanced briefly at Daniel, who stood off stage, giving her an encouraging nod. Mia leaned toward the microphone, her voice unwavering. I'd tell him, thank you for leaving me. You made me unstoppable. A collective gasp rippled through the audience, followed by thunderous applause. Veronica looked momentarily stunned before bursting into a wide grin. That's what I call turning pain into power. As the camera zoomed in on Mia's radiant face, she felt a sense of closure. She had not only survived the worst heartbreak of her life, but she had also thrived. In choosing herself, she had discovered her own strength, passions, and a future she once thought impossible. The show ended on a high note, with Mia receiving a standing ovation. As she walked off the stage, Daniel wrapped her in a warm hug. You were incredible, he whispered. Mia closed her eyes, smiling against his shoulder. I've come a long way, she murmured, and I couldn't have done it without everyone who believed in me, including me. From that moment on, Mia's story became a beacon of hope for those who ever felt lost in someone else's shadow. Her journey was proof that sometimes, the most painful endings lead to the most empowering beginnings. Years down the line, Canvas & Company expanded to several locations, each one offering classes, hosting art showcases, and providing a safe, creative space for the community. Mia and Daniel traveled the world together, collecting inspiration for her art and forging meaningful partnerships with international artists. Looking back, Mia often marveled at how a single moment of betrayal had sparked her greatest transformation. She had stepped into the courtroom that divorce day expecting tears and bitterness, only to emerge shining like a phoenix from the flames. While Jordan remained a distant memory, Mia's life was richer than ever. She had found love, purpose, and an unshakable sense of self-worth. In her personal studio, a sunlit room filled with half-finished canvases, she kept one special painting, a depiction of a phoenix rising from smoldering ashes. It was her constant reminder that rebirth can follow even the darkest of nights. And so, Mia's story became a testament to the power of self-discovery. In letting go of what no longer served her, she discovered her true potential. She had learned that the best revenge isn't to hurt the one who harmed you. It's to live an extraordinary life that surpasses any limitations they tried to place on you. I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please go ahead and generously hit that like button and subscribe for more captivating tales like this. We'd love to hear from you. What lessons have you learned from this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next story.